Hello everyone, this is Rick and today we are going to discuss about subsistence and crafts of Indus Valley Civilization. Here, subsistence means that on what the Indus Valley people survived on, and crafts are mainly commercial exports that the Indus Valley Civilization did with contemporary civilizations from other places in order to gain an active trade participation. So without further delay, let's get into details. Diversity of Harappan subsistence patterns. So we will understand what were the diverse ecological factors that led people in the Indus Valley to do different kind of activities. It was not that the people in Indus Valley civilization dependent on a single mode of subsistence. There were numerous activities done by numerous groups of people in order to fulfill their basic needs. Enormous area with ecological variety was important factor, which means that the physical features of Indus Valley civilization varied from place to place. There were alluvial plains, plateaus and also sea coast. As you can see on the map, the Indus basin had lot of alluvial plain which provided fertility to the land where crops could be grown, and also on the eastern side and western side you can see it has been surrounded by deserts, whereas in the southern part, in the part of Gujarat, Kutch and Balakot, we can also see sea coast. So the geography varied from place to place, hence people had numerous kinds of activities in order to provide their needs. Research Resource rich environment supported diverse food sources essential for urbanization. Now urbanization happens only when there is subsistence in agriculture. When there is excess of product, that time people follow a urban lifestyle, or rather people develop into a urban lifestyle. So here also the environment was rich in resources and that supported diverse food sources which led to urbanization. The subsistence base mainly included agriculture which was supplemented by hunting, gathering and trade. So agriculture was one of the chief activity of the people, and hunting, gathering also supported the subsistence of the people of Indus Valley, and after all everything was done to fulfill their needs of trade with contemporary civilizations of the place. Information about plant remains can be obtained from archaeological sources. Animal bones give us information about animal husbandry. Artifacts, seals, and pottery show us where the trade networks went to and how far was the range of influence of the Indus Valley people. There is a debate over the nature of Harappan environment and its climatic conditions. Since the Harappan civilization archaeological evidences are in a very much perished state, therefore it is very hard to decipher the environmental and climatic conditions of the Harappan Valley civilization. Next up we have climate arguments and agriculture. Mortimer Wheeler and Stuart Pigott suggested that there was a wetter climate based on the substantial fuel needs for burnt bricks. So there was fuel needs in order to burn the mud bricks and make it stronger. Hence, viewing the fuel need, Mortimer Wheeler suggested that the climate was much wet than it is today. Hence, humidity was much more than it is today. Presence of heavy forestation indicated by gabble lands, which means embankments, and depiction of tigers, elephants and rhinoceros on seals also project to the fact that there was a wetter climate. Here tigers, elephant, rhinoceros and other animals which has been depicted in the Harappan seals do not survive on a very dry climate. Therefore it can be assumed that since all these animals existed, the climate was much wet than it is now. Elaborate range of drainage system was there along with lakes like Sambar, Didwana and Lunkaranshar indicate that there was a lot of rainfall. So nowadays mostly in Indus Valley Civilization we can see deserts of Rajasthan and that of cold deserts in the northern part and barren lands in the western part. But before there were a lot of lakes in the form of Didwana Lake, Sambar Lake, all these lakes uh, evidence the fact that the climate was much wetter and it can be assumed that there was increased rainfall in the past. Paleontologists suggest that the consistent climate was there since Harappan times. So plant paleontologist also suggest that he has argued in against the climate change during Harappan times. He has said that the climate has been same as it is of today. Agriculture in Harappan's civilization included that of Mohenjo-daro. Uh, in the sites of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa shows that barley was there at Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Kalibangan. Hence, it can be assumed that barley was one of the chief food source of the Harappan people. There was regional variations in plant economy. In every part of Harappan civilization, similar kind of agriculture was not there. There was varied forms of plant economy in the form of cultivation of numerous different crops in different parts of Harappan civilization. Varied plant economy with crops like wheat, barley, sesame, horse gram and chickpea was very popular. So in few places where wheat was cultivated, it may have been only wheat that was cultivated there. And similar goes in the case of barley, sesame, hot gram and chickpea. There was evidence of watermelon seeds, peas and dates, rice cultivated at Harappa. So all these things were farmed by the agriculturalists or the peasants of Harappan civilization. Different cropping practices used to have thrive, and there is photoperiodic patterns and of water management. So basing on the advanced water management, different cropping practices and harvesting practices used to prevail in the Harappan Valley civilization. Sesame and cotton grown as kharif summer crops, indicating specific harvesting seasons. So there was specific period of time in a year when a specific crop used to be cultivated, and thus we can know that people of Harappan civilization had knowledge of harvesting seasons. Terracotta models of plows at sites like Banawali suggest that there was advanced agricultural techniques in the Harappan Valley civilization sites. Next up we have animal husbandry and exploitation of resources. So what kind of animals did people of Harappan civilization use to rear? Domesticated animals included humped and humpless cattle, along with buffalo, sheep and goat. So from the seals which we find today or the clay tablets, we find that there existed humpless cattle, buffalo, sheep and goat. Wild animal bones were also found. They include deer, pig, boar, sheep, goat and the presence of rhinoceros bones at the site of Amri. So wild animals include all the common wild animals which we find even today. Along with that, one interesting find was bones of rhinoceros at the site of Amri. There was exploitation of riverine and marine resources like fish evident in the coastal site. So in the coastal sites like Lothal, Dholavira and other sites in the Kutch Valley, we find existence of exploitation of marine resources like fish. There has been remains of domesticated dogs found, which suggests that dogs were the earliest animals to be domesticated in the Indian subcontinent. Utilization of resources like mollusk and trading in marine fish bones indicate that there was diverse dietary habits. So people used to consume or eat a large number of varied things which ranged from animals, agricultural products up to mollusk and marine fish bones. Next up, we have the very interesting water management in the Harappan civilization. Evidence of well-developed water management system has been found, including canals and reservoirs. So we have discussed this in great detail in our last presentations of Indus Valley Civilization, where we find evidence of well-developed water management system. H.P. Frankfort's in identification of ancient canal network was there in Haryana area. So H.P. Frankfort identified that there was a network of irrigation canals built by the Harappan people in the area of current state of Haryana in India. Debate was there on the purpose of dockyard of Lothal, and the debate was between whether it was a trading center or it was a water management facility, but in no way it can be ignored that the Harappan people had advanced knowledge of water management systems. There was sophisticated irrigation system inferred from archaeological find. You can see in the pictures here that the water irrigation system was very much advanced during the time of Harappan people. The challenge of identifying Harappan canals continue due to alluvial plain characteristics. So all these Harappan sites, most of them are based on alluvial plains. Now alluvial plains happen because of deposition of alluvial soil over thousands of years. Hence it is very difficult to identify the Harappan canals from what we find today, because our alluvial plain features change over a time. Next up, we have the farming techniques and the seasonal crops. As we have discussed, numerous advanced farming techniques along with the knowledge of seasons used to exist at the time of Indus Valley Civilization. There was identification of complex farming techniques through the discovery of plowing fields. We have found plowing fields in sites like Kalibangan and Banwali. Hence, we can identify the complex farming techniques. Terracotta models at Banwali give evidence of plow use. So, in Banwali and Kalibangan, we find evidence of plow use. Cultivation of both Ravi, which means winter crop, and Kharif, which means summer crops, indicate to the fact that people had knowledge about cropping seasons in the Indus Valley Civilization. Irrigation canals may have been found. These are matters of debate, since irrigation canals are difficult to identify given that the Indus Valley civilization was situated in alluvial plain. But the existence of irrigation canals suggests that there was advanced farming practices. Grapes, mustard, among the other crops indicate that there was a variety of agricultural produce. So in the variety of agricultural produce that we get, we find existence of barley, wheat along with rice, grapes, mustard, horse gram and chickpea. Harappan pottery and ceramics. Moving into the crafts of Indus Valley Civilization, the first thing that we will discuss is the ceramic of Indus Valley Civilization. Harappa is very famous for the production of very advanced ceramics, and that requires technical skill up in its best. So we will discuss about Harappan ceramics. Variety of pottery that we find in Harappa includes dishes, bowls and perforated jars from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. So here in the left hand side pictures you can see advanced pottery techniques used by the Indus Valley people, and the shapes which we commonly find are dishes, bowls and perforated jars. The techniques featured red slip with black paint, polychrome painting and geometric patterns. So these were the designing techniques used by the people of Harappa in the Indus Valley Civilization. Earliest examples of glazing, which means putting up a shiny cover over the normal paint in pottery, has been found at Mohenjo-daro with a dark purplish slip. Slip means a transparent coating. So a glossy coating has been found in the form of a dark purplish slip in Mohenjo-daro. Utilitarian functions suggest for large jars, possibly for grain or water storage. So large jars, it can be assumed that their utility was for storing of grains or water. Specialized pottery like perforated jars could have been used for straining or brewing. So perforated jars, which means a jar with holes, has been found in many places of Harappan civilization, and they may have been used for the purpose of straining or brewing. So in Harappa we find advanced quality of ceramics in the form of dishes, bowls and perforated jars. We also find designing features in the form of polychrome painting and geometric patterns. We also find evidence of glazing, and all these things may have been used for storage or for straining or brewing. Next up we have terracotta craftsmanship. Terracotta means objects of burnt clay. Terracotta artifacts in Harappan civilization include toys, figurines and animal models showing cultural richness. So when we get existence of toys and animal models, we can assume that there was a rich culture among the people where the kids had time for playthings or toys. Long barrel cylinder beads have been found made from materials like gold, silver and copper, which indicated advanced beadwork. In our later part of the presentation, we will discuss about beads in detail. Use of carnelian and steatite also suggests to the fact that there was existence of trade and value was placed on intricate bead designs. Evidence of bead making has also been found. Both terracotta bead making and stone bead making have been found in sites like Chanhudaro and Lothal. We have discussed before that Chanhudaro was a site which was famous as bead making factory. Hence terracotta craftsmanship must be at its technological supremacy during the time of mature Harappan civilization. Shell inlay works in the form of bangles have been found from sites Chanhudaro and Balakot. This demonstrate that there was specialized shell craftsmanship. Now metallurgy and metal crafts. What are the kind of metal expertise we find in the people of in the time of Indus Valley Civilization? Large number of copper objects with copper often alloyed with arsenic, tin or nickel has been found. So since Indus Valley was a Chalcolithic settlement, it is very much natural that we will find copper artifacts in its most common form. But here in Indus Valley Civilization, we find copper objects have often been alloyed with arsenic, tin or nickel. So when people can make alloys of different metals, it can be assumed that people had advanced knowledge and skill of metallurgy and metal crafts. There was diverse bronze artifacts including vessels, spears, knives and axes. So people knew how to make alloy called bronze also, which is made using copper and tin. Therefore they made vessels, spears, knives and axes with bronze. Metalwork sophistication indicated by 16 copper furnaces found in Harappa. So there were copper making furnaces found in Harappa where we can assume the fact that large scale metal work was done and specialized people were there for metal crafts. Evidence of precious metal work with findings of gold, silver, and semi-precious stones has also been found. So it is not only that only copper was used. We find existence of gold, silver, and artifacts of semi-precious stones also. This indicates to the fact that along with the settlement being a perfect Chalcolithic settlement, there were also works of other expensive metals in the form of gold and silver. Standardized seal making was there with square or rectangular seals and evidence of sophisticated bead making. So when standardized seal is there, that means that there was a central controlling authority which made some kind of standard which every Harappan site used to follow while making seals. Textile production and weaving. Now, textile production and weaving is a very fragile branch in archaeology because textile doesn't survive. Hence, we will have to assume what kind of textile existed from different other artifacts where imprints of textiles survives. Now, in the left hand side, you can see an image where we can see imprint of a textile in a clay tablet. Terracotta figurines and Mesopotamian texts suggest that Harappans made cotton and woolen textile. So from the terracotta figures where we can see models wearing some kind of clothing, and the Mesopotamian text which have been deciphered from their writings, we can understand that Harappan made cotton and woolen textile and also traded with them. Traces of cotton cloth has been found at Mohenjo-daro, including indicating a long-term textile production. So one trace of cotton cloth has been found in the site of Mohenjo-daro, and this indicates that people had great knowledge about textile production which they gained in a long-term experience. Evidence of woven textile impressions on inside of Fane's vessels. So Fane's vessel used to exist. On the inside of Fane's vessel we find impressions of woven textile where it got imprinted, and from the imprints we can understand that people had advanced knowledge of weaving techniques. Uniform thickness of cotton threads suggests that the use of spinning wheel and advanced weaving techniques used to prevail. So everywhere the cotton threads had same thickness. This indicates to the fact that they were made using spinning wheels and people had advanced knowledge of weaving techniques. Implications of cottage industry. Weaving practices in villages and cities used to prevail at the time of Harappan civilization. So even though the textile materials or textile artifacts doesn't survive, we can understand from the impressions that we find today and from the literary evidences in Mesopotamia. All these evidences indicate to the fact that there was highly advanced technique of weaving and people had knowledge of textile production, which was also a commodity of trade. Stonecraft and bead making. This is one of the most important feature of Indus Valley Civilization. Beads made of materials like lapis lazuli, steatite, and clay-lined beads used for storing semi-precious stones. So clay-lined beads were there where we find people used to store the semi-precious stones. So semi-precious stones were probably an object of theft which people had to keep in a secured manner. Therefore, they used to make clay-lined pits in their houses, and in those pits they used to store semi-precious stones. Evidence of specialized bead making has been found in Gujarat in the sites like Lothal and Bagasra. So, in the sites of Gujarat, we find evidence of specialized bead making where a certain section of people used to dedicate their livelihood to the making of beads. Stonework, including beautifully crafted tools, blades, and arrowheads, used to be there at the time of Harappan civilization. This indicates to the fact that people had advanced knowledge of cutting and polishing stones. Advanced bead making techniques like drills to perforate semi precious stones were also there. So people had knowledge and technique to drill through the stone and make advanced and beautiful beads by perforating the semi precious stones. Discovery of bead making tools in Chanhudaro and different other factory sites provide to the fact that the craft specialization of Harappan people used to exist. Hence, we can understand that there were different stages of stone bead production and factory sites like Chanhudaro where people used to dedicate their livelihood to the production and making of stone beads. Harappan jewelry and ornamentation. This is one of the most prominent feature of a civilization which indicates to the fact that there was class division among the Harappan people. Whenever we find jewelry and ornamentation, we find that people had a sense of beautification and that comes with class differences. Jewelry were made from precious materials like gold, silver, and also semi precious stones. So, gold, silver, and semi precious stones were mainly used to make jewelry which people used to wear at the time of Harappan civilization. Use of carnelian, valued for its beauty, found in royal burials as far as Mesopotamia. So Harappan beads were transported, Harappan jewelry made out of carnelian were transported or traded to Mesopotamia, and there in the royal burials of Mesopotamia they were used as grave goods. Hence we can understand how important and how much valued the Harappan jewelry was at that period of time in the Indian subcontinent, because it used to be transported to Mesopotamia by the rich people and the royals used to use it. Micro beads were made, means small beads were made of steatite paste and hardened by heating, showcasing intricate crafting skills. So people had knowledge to modify the steatite paste into beads by heating. Therefore, we understand that people had great knowledge about jewelry and ornamentation techniques. Evidence of jewelry hoards and the widespread use of ornaments was there in Harappan society. So people used to preserve the jewelries in hoards in their houses, and wearing jewelry was very much common in the Harappan society. Bead making factories have been found, which indicates to the fact that there was an organized approach to jewelry production. Hence, from the bead making factories and jewelry producing factory sites, we can understand that there was an organized approach to jewelry production. Next up, we have craft specialization and trade. So evidence of craft specialization, we can see there was bead making, ceramic making, and also different forms of jewelry. So evidence of craft specialization with shell working and bangle making centers in areas like Chanhudaro and Balakot have been found, where an entire site was dedicated to a specialized form of craft production, which were also probably used as a commodity of trade. Craft items such as faience bangles, terracotta vessels, and terracotta masks show trade and artistry. So the artistic talent of people were used in making faience bangles, terracotta vessels, and terracotta masks, which were also used as a commodity of trade. And from the map here we can see that different trading networks used to exist within the Harappan civilization and also among different parts of Central Asian Central Asian sites. Shell inlay work indicates skilled craftsmanship and decorative techniques which were there prevalent among the Indus people. Hence, we can understand that the Indus people were not only rich in technology but they also had a beautiful artistic sense which they developed into a commodity of trade. Trading networks implied by distribution and variety of crafts are found across Harappan sites. So the use of seals projected the fact that there were trading guilds and the guilds used variety of trading networks in order to provide a proper trade commercially developed civilization. The variety of crafts suggest complex economic system with artisans and traders. So the economy of Harappa was not single-sided with only agriculture or any other kind of craft activity. It was a diverse economic system which was very complex in its nature, along with peasants, artisans and traders in various forms who used to exploit the resources and use different commercial network for their subsistence. So in order for the proper trade to function in Harappan society, there used to be standardization in Harappan crafts. There must be a central controlling authority which maintain the weights and regulations of Harappan crafts passing through various Harappan sites. Remarkable standardization has been found across Harappan cultural zone in units of weights and measure. So in the present context, if we can imagine a society without the use of proper metric system, then we will not be able to survive with our dealings, survive with our exchanges. Therefore, for any civilization to survive, there needs to be standard amounts or standard units of measurement, and remarkable standardization has been found across all sides of Harappan zones. Here in the left hand side you can see weights of various categories which were used as units of measurement for the trading commodities. Binary and decimal weighing systems with cubical weights made from materials like chart and chalcedony has been found across all the Harappan sites, which projects to the fact that there was a central regulating body. Largest weight which has been found at Mohenjo-daro is 10.865 gram, and this indicates precision in trade and commerce. So the largest weight of 10.865 gram has been found in Mohenjo-daro, and thus we can understand that there was precision in trade and commerce. The existence of standard weight suggests some form of central control or trade regulation. The nature and degree of centralized direction in craft production remain a topic for research. Since the writing has not been discovered yet or writing has not been deciphered yet, therefore this remains a topic in Harappan civilization which has not been explored to its fullest. Therefore it remains a topic for research. So from the standardization in Harappan crafts, we find the existence of an important organization that used to act as a trade regulating body. Now we will go through an overview of subsistence and craft in Harappan civilization. First of all, we have seen that there was diversification in subsistence practices. The Harappan civilization showcased an advanced subsistence pattern with agriculture as the mainstay, supplemented by hunting, gathering and trade. featuring crops like wheat, barley, sesame, and evidence of regionally varied farming techniques. So there were different kind of farming techniques along with different kind of crops, along with different kind of seasons, which subsidized the people of Harappan civilization. Sophisticated water management is always an important factor while discussing anything about Harappan civilization. Archaeological evidence suggests well-developed water management system, including sophisticated irrigation canals, reservoirs, essential for agricultural success and urban planning. Next up, we have innovative pottery and ceramics. Harappans were skilled potters. They had advanced knowledge of ceramics, creating a variety of utilitarian and decorative pottery, with some of the earliest example of glazing or burnishing seen in Mohenjo-daro, and intricate designs of various types which indicated a complex understanding of materials and aesthetics. So people had a sense of artistry which provided a sense of aesthetics in the pottery designs of Indus Valley Civilization. Metallurgy and metalwork requires high knowledge of metal engineering, and the civilization was notable for its metallurgy, especially copper work with artifacts showing alloying techniques and variety of tools, weapons, and ornamental items. These included jewelry of gold, silver, and semi-precious stones. Textile production, even though the evidence is very scarce, we find evidence of cotton and woolen textile production with spinning and weaving likely being cottage industries, supplemented by impressions of woven textiles found on pottery, indicating a well established textile industry. And the most important factor in trade is a regulating body with standardized system. A high level of standardization in crafts was there, such as pottery making and brick making, and all the units of weights and measures. So Harappan people had a proper metric system, suggests some form of centralized control or regulation, pointing to a complex and organized economic system with extensive trade networks. So that was all about subsistence modes of Indus Valley Civilization and the craft specialization in the Harappan people. So thank you everyone. This was another episode of Indus Valley series based on mode of subsistence of the Harappan people and the different forms of crafts that used to prevail. Along with your support, I hope to bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much.